He's dead. He's been shot by a hunter like Walter Palmer. How brave are they? I don't think so. And then that lion's gone. And I think that hunt cost him, in the region, I'm told, of about $45,000. So the life of that lion gone for $45,000. None of that money went back into the community. That lion was making a fortune for the community as photographic tourism. You can kill a lion once. You can hit it once with a gun. You can shoot it 1,000,000 times with a camera. That's what we have to be doing with our lions. And how can hunting of lions be considered sustainable if we don't know how many we've got? And we don't know how many there are in the hunting concessions. If this hunting concession where Cecil was killed, if it was so good for conservation, then why did they have no male lions left in that hunting concession? Why did they have to go into the national park and lure a lion out? Because they've not got any left, they've shot them all. And that's how it is in all the hunting concessions. So don't ever be fooled by the rhetoric coming out of the hunting community. They are very rich, they are very powerful. They've got deep pockets, and they're very, very, very well connected politically. And they will do everything that they can. And they are winning hands down right now, and it's about time we all fought back against them. African elephants have greatly benefited from the generosity of Seattle's Paul Allen, and I thank him to the bottom of my heart for this. He made $10 million available to facilitate an elephant population count. The results of this count were very depressing, and they showed the huge disparity between the official population figures quoted by government and, I'll add, by some large conservation organisations. And we compared that with the shockingly low numbers discovered when an actual independent elephant count was conducted, and it made the world sit up. Now let's do the same for our lions. Let's do it for all Cecil's brothers and sisters whose future is hanging by a thread right now. So why are we losing our lions? Not because of habitat loss. There's another myth that you'll come across. Habitat loss. Well, that used to be the case, but we've only got 15,000 lions left. We've got more than enough habitat for those few. We're never going to have the 100 and 200 and 300,000 lions again. That's gone forever, but let's preserve what we've got. Another huge loss, which is a loss to them, is the loss of lions' natural prey. Because the bushmeat trade and the illegal poaching of wildlife is taking its toll on lions. And yes, to the increasing use of lion bones for the Chinese traditional medicine trade. This trade is increasing at an alarming rate. Now, if you poach an elephant or a rhino, you've got a carcass left over that you can't hide, so everybody knows that it's gone. If you poach a lion, you turf it into the back of the Land Rover and it's gone. So people don't know how many lions are being poached. They don't realise how many legal lion bones are being traded. It's going to come as an almighty shock when these figures come out. And yes, what else happens? Cub smuggling. We've had Susie has talked about the canned hunting trade. It's a hideously cruel trade where these lions are bred in captivity in these lion farms in South Africa. And then they are petted and they're bottle fed and they're photographed and they're walked, all by paying volunteers. Money, 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 money being made all the way up. And then when they get a bit bigger, they're put into a field and you can go and photograph them and you can have a drive-through safari, and all the time you're waiting for that lion to get to the right size to be a trophy. And when it gets to be trophy size, you sell it to the hunters, bang, it's dead. And then the hunter goes home with his cut price bargain basement trophy because it's a lot cheaper to hunt a canned lion. And what's left? The bones are left. Hi, that's fantastic, because now you can sell your bones to Laos and Vietnam. So you're making a huge amount of money out of the canned lion trade. But they have to smuggle cubs from the wild because these lions are getting so inbred because they're breeding brothers with sisters and fathers with daughters and mothers with sons. They need to smuggle cubs from the wild to supplement the gene pool. And all of that excuse me, is taking its toll on the wild lions as well. And yes, they also take live lion cubs because they want them for zoos and safari parks and for the pet trade, mainly in the United Arab Emirates and all of that area. And yes, to the human livestock predator conflict, because rural communities have to live alongside lions. And if I had the time, which I haven't today, but you can always come on our website and find it. We'll tell you about the wonderful work that we're doing with the Maasai, with the Maasai on this predator conflict. They came up with a brilliant scheme for the rural communities to live with lions, but that's the subject of another day. And yes to disease. I don't think many of you know this, but lions, 95% of studied lion populations have feline immunodeficiency virus, which is feline AIDS. Who knew that? And that's a slow lentivirus, which means that they are then susceptible to things like bovine tuberculosis and canine distemper, which they get from domestic animals. So if we've got all that going on for wild lions, why on earth are we still trophy hunting, killing them for sport? Because all those problems I've talked about are going to take a while to sort out. But we could stop killing them for fun tomorrow if governments got themselves organised. And it's harder and harder to find adult males to kill now. With only 15,000 wild lions left, that means we've only got 1,500 adult male wild lions left now in the world, or in Africa. 10% of the population. So now they shoot lions that are barely 2 years old. And when they go to the taxidermist is all set. They can put teeth in, they can put wigs on, and they can make that lion look like a big ferocious male, and they can put that up in their trophy room and say, look how brave I was when I shot this animal. We currently export around 300 wild lion trophies every year and an unknown number of domestic trophies on top. We've only got 1,500 wild lions left now in Africa. Do the maths. It's not going to take long before the only place you'll see a lion is in a book or in a zoo. So, what have we got? What have we achieved so far? Well, we've managed to persuade the EU that you need an import permit now to import a lion. So you have to prove that the trophy hunting of that lion is sustainable. That took us a long time to persuade the EU to do that, but we have finally persuaded them. But then how can you tell if something's sustainable if you don't know how many you've got? And we've asked them that several times and they don't answer that question. But Australia has led the way, and France has led the way, and the Netherlands have led the way because they have all banned the import of lion trophies. So a big cheer for Australia, France and the Netherlands. The UK is still sadly holding out, but we're working on them. We've already had 2 debates in the UK Parliament, and we now have the promise of a 3rd debate, and I will try and get as many members of Parliament there that I can to turn up for that debate to convince the UK to ban the import of lion trophies. But let's look at America. You guys need to pat yourselves on the back because it took a long time, but following many submissions from LionAid, other NGOs and the general public to the US Fish and Wildlife Service, the US has finally added the lion to the Endangered Species Act as a threatened species. And the US went significantly further than the EU. They've said not only is the hunting of that lion in the source country got to be sustainable, but they went one further, one very important step further. They said if you're going to bring a lion trophy into the US, not only has that trophy got to be sustainable, but the hunting of that lion has actually got to benefit the species. Well, there's a tall order, because how does killing a lion benefit the species? And since they brought that rule in America in February of this year, how many of you can tell me how many lion trophies have been imported into the US? I'll tell you, none. So all take a bow, guys, because the US is leading the way at the moment. Fantastic. Very proud of you guys. Because prior to that rule coming in, over 60% of all lion trophies came into the US of A. So that's been a dramatic development. And then we've got a wonderful state senator in New Jersey called Raymond Lesniak. LionAid went to meet him in June. Fabulous guy. And he got legislation passed to actually ban the import of lion trophies into New Jersey. Fantastic. But guess what? Safari Club International, the big hunting lobby, they went off to the courts and they have now managed to overturn that ban. So we've gone back to Senator Lesniak because we're working with him now. And we've given him all the reasons why we think he should appeal that overturned ban. And he has appealed it. So we're now waiting to see whether the results of that appeal succeed. So all of you, write to your state senators. Do it. If everybody here wrote to their own state senator and said, I want you to legislate to ban the import of lion trophies, it would make a difference. I promise you it would make a big difference. So, I'm not going to go on much longer. CITES opens today, I told you. What's going to happen there for lions? Well, we can already guess what's going to happen. Somebody put on Facebook, on our Facebook page yesterday, LionAid, what are you doing in Seattle? You should be at CITES. Well, there's no point us being at CITES because we already know really what's going to happen. They pre-decide it. They just make it public when you get to the event. There will probably be a split listing. The Western African lions will finally get the endangered status. They'll go on Appendix 1. And then we've got the Southern African lions and the Eastern African lions. The IUCN has had to admit that the Eastern African lions, and that includes the lions in Tanzania, which is the biggest population that's left, probably now meet the criteria to be endangered. And that criteria is that 50% decline over 3 lion generations, and they finally have had to admit that that's happened. But it will be fought over because Tanzania will not want their lions to go on Appendix 1. They'll want them to stay on Appendix 2, and it's my guess that that's what will happen. There'll be a lot of bartering around behind the scenes. I'll do this for you if you do this for me. And lions will probably stay on Appendix 2. And the Southern African lions will undoubtedly stay on Appendix 2. And they shouldn't do. Because what they've done there is they've said that lion populations are increasing for the Southern African lions. They're saying lions in South Africa are increasing. Oh, well, yeah, sure they are. But only if you add in all the managed fenced populations, which are not the wild lions. If you take the wild lions, they're decreasing as much as the rest. So, what can you do? I've told you. You've got to go and ask everybody, all the corporates that you know, we need to get an independent lion count done. Send them our way. Write to your state senator. Tell them you want lion trophy imports banned. Support blood lions. They're doing a fantastic job. It was my great privilege to meet Susie and Rick here. They have done, I think Rick, I shook his hand when I met him last night. For those of you that haven't seen Bloodlines, Rick's over there. He put his life on the line. Don't be fooled that he didn't. He went undercover. He had hidden cameras and microphones on him, and he posed as a hunter to go in and get the footage of what really goes on. And they rumbled him finally, and he had to really run for it. And don't forget, he was on a private game farm where he could easily have just become, oh, I'm sorry, he died as a result of a mishap with a gun. So this guy there put his life on the line. So Rick, take a bow. Before you go and shake his hand. So we need to work together to close down the canned hunting industry. Don't ever go on a lion walk. Don't be fooled that that's anything more than leading to the slaughter of that lion. Don't ever pet a lion cub. Don't bottle feed a lion cub. Don't volunteer at one of these farms because you think you're helping conservation, because you're not. Do all the lobbying. And then finally, LionAid have been calling for a long time. It's now becoming more popular, but since 2010 we've called for lions to be declared a World Heritage Species. And that means going to UNESCO. Write to UNESCO and say that you want lions to be declared a World Heritage Species. They have one so far, it's the great apes. Lions go back to the beginning of time. Lions are intertwined with cultures all over the world. Go and look on our website, you'll see a lot of details about it. Lions should be declared a World Heritage Species. Let's give them protected status. So that's really the end of what I'm saying. There's one thing, if you can bear with me, is that I've had a message come through, if it will come through on my phone, from a wonderful lady who you will have all heard of, and we love her to bits. And it's called Dr. Jane Goodall. And she wanted to have her voice here today. And she's talking here about rhinos and elephants. She's a big supporter of lions as well, and we've done a lot of work with Jane, and we admire her greatly. But this was just for the elephants and rhinos, because she knows that I was going to shout my mouth off about the lions already. And she said, I wish I were in Seattle with all of you today in your show of solidarity against the senseless slaughter of so many elephants and rhinos. As I am sure you know, the increase in poaching has been horrific. Elephants and rhinos are killed every single day simply for their tusks and their horns. If that cannot be stopped, soon they will become extinct. I am passionate about speaking for elephants. Nearly 100 elephants are killed every single day. They are truly wonderful. They have a rich social life. They are close, supportive bonds between family members that can last throughout their very long lives. They have the same emotions of happiness, sadness, fear, despair, and so on as we do. They try to help family members or friends who are wounded. They grieve when one amongst them dies. And because of the ridiculous value of ivory, at least one elephant dies every day. Each one with his own personality, and each one a very valued member of the herd. Rhinos in Africa and Asia need our help. Along with the shrinking of their habitats, the killing of rhinos for the illegal trade in their horns is bringing the various species close to extinction. It is desperately important to support efforts to educate the local people in the range countries and to work on eliminating the demand for rhino horn, especially in Vietnam. The supposed medicinal benefits of rhino horn are simply not true. During this day, let us think of those who risk and too often lose their lives to combat the poachers on the ground, the heroic rangers. Let us pledge to fight harder, each one of us who cares. So what can we do? We can persuade people to stop buying ivory. We can donate to those charities working to protect elephants, rhinos and lions, or to support rangers on the ground. We can put pressure on our governments when this is needed and to ban the import and export and domestic trade in ivory and horn. If we fail now to act, our great-grandchildren will only know elephants from picture books or sad captive individuals, last representatives of a magnificent species. And how shall we be judged? Fortunately, more and more people are waking up to their plight, and there are many organisations around the world helping to protect rhinos, elephants and lions. If I could join one of the groups marching, I most certainly would. I shall be with you all in spirit, and I will be thinking of you. 23rd of September, Washington, D.C., Dr. Jane Goodall. So thank you from me. Please go to our website, www.lionaid.org. Support the work we're doing, and let me pass you back, and you've been wonderful. Thank you.